Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The EU says there will be consequences for the organisers of so-called referendums in occupied parts of Ukraine.
As we meet so-called referenda.
The US ambassador to the UN said the United States would introduce a resolution at the United Nations Security Council condemning referendums held by Russia in occupied regions of Ukraine. Pro-Russia leaders in the 4 occupied regions say the votes show the vast majority of people support the annexation of the areas by Russia. News agencies run by the pro-Kremlin administrations in Donetsk and Luhansk are reporting that up to 99.23% of people voted in favour of joining Russia. The referendums have widely been condemned as illegitimate. US Secretary of State said the results would not be recognised.
Russia invaded Ukraine, seized territory, and is engaged in a diabolical scheme on some of the territory it seized, where it has moved the local populace out, often through these filtration centers, where people may be deported to Russia, elsewhere in Ukraine, or they simply disappear. Then they bus Russians in, they install puppet governments, and then they engage in the referendum.
Meanwhile, in Russia, the Speaker of Russia's lower house of parliament congratulated everybody who took part in referendums on joining Russia in occupied Ukrainian regions. Vyacheslav Volodin called the referendums in Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson successful and added that the outcome of the referendums would, in his words, save millions of people from genocide. The Bank of England has announced it will step in to calm markets after the government's tax-cutting plans caused the pound to slide even further. The bank said it would buy government bonds on a temporary basis to help restore orderly market conditions. It comes as financial leaders react to the International Monetary Fund's criticism of the UK's tax cut plan. In its unusually blunt statement, the IMF says the £45 billion proposal is risky and will likely increase inequality. After the news, the pound tumbled to $1.05, down 1.6% against the dollar. The leader of the opposition said the intervention by the IMF was significant.
I think the IMF statement is very serious. It comes on the back of statements made by the Bank of England earlier this week. And I know how worried people will be, particularly those with mortgages, looking at their new mortgage rates. People who thought they had mortgage deals last week don't have mortgage deals this week.
And finally, Chinese archaeologists have uncovered a 1-million-year-old fossilized skull belonging to the Homo erectus species, said to be one of the most complete skull fossils of its kind ever found in Eurasia. The newly discovered skull fossil was unearthed near Xi'an City in central China's Hubei province, where 2 Homo erectus skull fossils had been excavated previously at the location in 1989 and 1990. The previous 2 fossils were dated at being around 800,000 to 1 million years old, with academic circles dubbing the discovery as the Yunxian Man. The new skull fossil was sitting just 0.62 meters below the surface of the Earth. It has become the most complete Homo erectus skull fossil discovered so far in the Eurasian inland. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.